you're standing on a platform in New York in 1903, watching a steam locomotive pull a passenger train out of Grand Central Depot. The locomotive is working hard, and as it accelerates through the tunnel that leads under Park Avenue, dense black smoke fills the enclosed space. Passengers on the platform cover their faces with handkerchiefs. The man standing next to you has been a daily commuter on this line for 15 years. And he is coughing in a way that you have come to recognize among regular travelers through these tunnels. This is the story of how the steam locomotive, which had built the American city, eventually became impossible to operate inside that city, and how a fatal collision in a smoke-filled tunnel forced the New York Central to electrify its terminal approach and rebuild its station from the foundations up. The original Grand Central Depot, opened in 1871, was the largest railroad terminal in the United States. Trains entered it through a 4-track tunnel running under Park Avenue from north of 96th Street to the station at 42nd Street, a distance of more than 2 miles. The tunnel was a triumph of 19th century urban infrastructure, allowing mainline trains to reach the heart of Manhattan without disrupting the streets above. It also, from the day it opened, accumulated smoke. Steam locomotives working hard in an enclosed space produced volumes of coal smoke that the ventilation arrangements of the period could not dissipate, and on still days the tunnel filled with a black fog dense enough to obscure signals at the next car length. The problem grew with traffic. Through the 1880s and 1890s, the number of trains passing through the Park Avenue tunnel rose to several hundred a day, and the smoke conditions inside grew correspondingly worse. Records from the New York Central document repeated complaints from passengers from neighborhood residents whose buildings ventilated into the tunnel through cellar windows, and from the railroad's own employees. The railroad responded with smoke abatement measures, attempts at improved ventilation, and operating rules requiring locomotives to drift through the tunnel with closed cylinders wherever possible. None of it solved the fundamental problem. The disaster came on January 8, 1902. A southbound train from White Plains, running through smoke so thick that the engineer could not see the signal indication ahead, ran past a stop signal and struck the rear of a stopped commuter train in the tunnel. 15 people were killed, and several dozen more were injured. The accident report from the State Railroad Commission was direct. The collision had been made possible by visibility conditions inside the tunnel that no operating practice could safely accommodate, and those conditions were a direct consequence of operating steam locomotives in an enclosed space. The New York State Legislature responded within months. By 1903, state law required that all rail operations into Manhattan be electrified by July of 1908, and the New York Central, faced with a deadline it could not negotiate, undertook the largest electrification project of any American railroad. The line was rebuilt with overhead third rail through the tunnel and the approaches. Electric locomotives were ordered from General Electric, and the terminal itself was redesigned to take advantage of the new technology. The old Grand Central Depot was demolished and replaced between 1903 and 1913 with the Grand Central Terminal that still serves the city today. The electrification was a success on every measure. Smoke disappeared from the tunnel. Capacity increased because electric trains could accelerate faster between stops. The new terminal, freed from the need to ventilate steam locomotives, could be built with 2 levels of platforms beneath an enclosed concourse, a configuration that no steam terminal could have supported. The Park Avenue corridor above the tunnel, no longer dominated by ventilation grates and smoke-fed buildings, became one of the most valuable streets of real estate in the world. The Park Avenue tunnel collision did not by itself end steam operation in American cities. Steam continued to enter most American downtowns for another half-century. But it established a principle that other cities would later apply. Where the geography forced trains into enclosed spaces, the steam locomotive could not safely follow, and the railroad would have to find another way to reach the heart of the city it served.